Image text advice help is on hand from a nurse or doctor if you're worried about a cervical screening and notice anything unusual. Having a screening for cervical cancer is never at the top of your list of things to do as young women. The thought of being half naked in a room in front of a doctor or nurse and having them poke and prod around is something you would rather avoid. This, coupled with the shocking tales of discomfort from female friends and family and reassuring thoughts of "I'm fine," or "I'd know if something was wrong," make us even more reluctant to get it tested. But as the rates of cervical cancer increase among women across the UK, perhaps screening should be a priority. In 2016, a study conducted by JOS Cervical Cancer Trust, the only UK charity dedicated to cervical cancer, commissioned research with YouGov to understand the barriers to cervical screening uptake and knowledge about cervical cancer within BAME communities, compared to responses from white British women. The study revealed that a third fewer Black, Asian and minority ethnic BAME women of screening age 12% compared to white women 8% had attended a cervical screening appointment. 53% of BAME women aged 5,565 believe that screening is a necessary health test against 67% of white women aged 5,565, and only 28% of BAME women said they would feel comfortable talking to a male GP in comparison to 45% of white women. Although emotional factors, such as fear and embarrassment, play a huge part in BAME women not screening, studies also show that Afro-Caribbean women perceive they are at a lower risk than other ethnic groups of developing cervical cancer. This is not true. Cervical cancer can affect any woman, at any age, which is why it is so important to screen. Despite experiencing a few minutes of discomfort, if any at all, cervical cancer screen could potentially save your life. Here are 6 steps you should follow ahead of your appointment. 1. Know the basics. Having a cervical cancer screen, more commonly referred to as smear test, is a method of detecting abnormal cells on the cervix. The cervix is the entrance to the womb from the vagina. According to ACUNHS Choices, most women have a negative test result where everything is normal, but for around 1 in 20 women, the test shows some abnormal changes in the cells of the cervix. By detecting and removing abnormal cells, the development of cervical cancer can be prevented. Most of these abnormalities won't lead to cervical cancer and the cells may go back to normal. However, in some cases, the abnormal cells need to be removed so they can't become cancerous. Research shows that cervical screening prevents at least 2,000 deaths each year in the UK. 2. Booking an appointment just before your 25th birthday, you will get a letter in the post encouraging you to go for your first screen. This is normal. It is something that all women in the UK receive. You can make an appointment for your screen at your local GP or sexual health clinic. Screening is usually carried out by the practice nurse or doctor. You can specifically ask to have a female nurse or doctor for the appointment. If possible, try to book an appointment during the middle of your menstrual cycle, usually 14 days from the start of your last period, as this can ensure a better sample of cells are taken. 3. Your appointment. The procedure usually lasts around 5 minutes, so between confirming your details upon arrival, getting undressed from the waist down, performing the procedure, and then getting dressed again, the whole appointment can last anything from 10 to 20 minutes. After you've undressed and have laid down on a medical bed behind a curtain, the doctor and nurse will ask you to open your legs and will gently insert an instrument, called a speculum, into your vagina. This holds the walls of the vagina open so the cervix can be seen. A small soft brush will then be inserted into your vagina to gently collect some cells from the surface of your cervix. By relaxing as much as possible and taking deep breaths throughout the procedure, you can help to reduce any discomfort you may feel. Some women find the procedure a bit uncomfortable or embarrassing, but for most women, it is not painful. The cell sample is then sent off to a laboratory for analysis and results are then sent out within 2 to 6 weeks. 4. Receiving your results. Ensure that your contact details are correct prior to leaving your GP or sexual health clinic, as you are likely to receive your result by post. If your test results are negative, you will be told so, and will be encouraged to come back and retest in 3 to 5 years' time. However, if your results are positive, you will be told so and invited to attend a clinic to have further testing, but this depends on the classification of the cells that are found. If the cells found are low-grade abnormalities, they are likely to disappear without treatment, but if the cells present moderate or severe abnormalities, you will be encouraged to undergo treatment to reduce the risk of them developing into cervical cancer. 5. Encourage others to get tested by talking to your friends and family about how quick, easy and discomfort-free we hope your experience was. You can play a part in influencing them to be tested, thereby reducing the figures of women who are diagnosed with cervical cancer yearly. If you went to a sexual health clinic or a women's service as opposed to your GP, recommend them to your friends and family. It will give them peace of mind knowing that you went there, too. You could even agree to go with a friend, or a group of friends, to get screened together. Whatever you decide to do, make sure you get screened and get others to do the same. 6. Follow-up screening. 3 to 5 years from your first cervical screen, you should be thinking about booking yourself in for another appointment, following the same steps as above. In the UK, women aged 25 to 49 receive invitations every 3 years, and women aged 50 to 64 receive invitations every 5 years. It is important to remember that cervical screening is not a test to find cancer. It is a screening test to detect changes to the cells of the cervix, which are called cervical abnormalities, or precancer. The earlier the diagnosis, if any, the earlier it can be treated and managed long-term. The HPV vaccination. Since 2008, girls aged 12 and 13 have been offered a vaccination against the human papillomavirus HPV. The vaccine can prevent more than 70% of cervical cancers. It is important for girls to have the vaccination when it is offered at school, but there are many types of HPV linked to cervical cancer. This means that screening is still important for girls who have been vaccinated, as things can change over time. If you have symptoms as well as attending for screening when you are invited, you still need to look out for any unusual changes to your body, for example abnormal bleeding such as bleeding between periods, unpleasant smelling, discharge, pain during sex. You should see your doctor if you notice anything unusual. There are many conditions that can cause these symptoms. Most of them are much more common than cervical cancer. But it is important to get your symptoms checked out. Evidence shows that the chance of developing cervical cancer if a woman has never had sex is low. If a woman is not currently sexually active but has been in the past, then the recommendation is that she continues screening. Since cervical screening started in the 1980s in Great Britain, rates of cervical cancer have almost halved. Being screened regularly means any abnormal changes in the cells of the cervix can be identified at an early stage and, if necessary, treated to stop cancer developing. However, cervical screening isn't 100% accurate and doesn't prevent all cases of cervical cancer. Screening is a personal choice, and you have the right to choose not to attend. For more information on cervical cancer screening, prevention and survival, log on to cancerresearchup.org and joestrauss.org.uk. The Voice is celebrating its 35th birthday this year. Share your voice memories, comments and birthday wishes on social media, using the following hashtag Voice35years. Read every story in our hardcopy newspaper for free by downloading the app. Posted on 23092017-0700 AM.